Hello and welcome to another episode of WTF with Alan Stevens and Dr. Christiaan Willems. And well, since we're here, this whole thing about have a nice day and how are you and kindest regards and all of that fluffy niceness that can actually be used to weaponize, because we're just so in this whole fluff of kindness, which is not really kindness. And then yeah, it just becomes really superficial and really awful. And that's what we want to talk about today, how we can just skim over the surface and not really mean it.
That's so true, and the irony of that is that the harder we push the niceness in the environment of artificial intelligence and scammers and spammers and fake things and not very deep conversations, it just doesn't work, does it? Like have a nice day, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing.
Well,
And it's just become this thing of we have to do that. Well, actually, no, we don't.
it's less than nothing. It actually goes the other way. If I've been dealing with somebody and it's been a tense time, like some of the service providers or banks or whatever, and you've asked them about a problem you've had, and then they send you back an email and say, "Oh, we, glad to have helped you and everything else, and have a wonderful day and everything else," but they haven't done anything to help you. That is an absolute insult. It's like we haven't listened to a thing you've said. We don't care about you whatsoever. So much for valued customer, no such thing.
I can take this to the next level. It's like I had that the other day where I hadn't even received the service yet, and they asked me for a review already. And it was we so value we so value you as a customer, and we just want to make sure that we improve. So please give us your feedback. And I'm like, you haven't done anything for me yet.
Actually, I stayed in a motel very recently that was not an expensive motel, and and the next day I've got a request for a review of the motel, and so I told them, the taps were leaking. It was one of those old 70s motels that was just sad and pathetic and with brown and orange crap like that, and I couldn't say it was complete crap, but I just said, look, it seriously in need of some maintenance. And I thought if someone's reading that they might go, oh, that's not a very good place to go. But you can't say nice things about something that's not nice. You can't pretend that it's all wonderful and fabulous. And please go to this motel. It just doesn't work. There's too many dichotomies in our lives these days.
Yeah, it's the whole thing of when they ask you for a 5-star review, there's a presupposition that it's already 5 stars. So when they do that, or when somebody asks me for a review and I can't give a 5-star review, I do what I generally recommend with any kind of feedback: praise in public, give constructive feedback back in private. So I will send them an email and say, I can't give you a 5-star review because of those reasons.
Yeah, indeed.
And that's where you can give them some constructive feedback if they allow that. But when you've got this request from a no reply email, so you can't reply back to them. It's like, okay, well, if you're making it so difficult, if your phone numbers don't work, if you no reply emails and things like that, then okay, and you're forcing me to, that's what they want to do, is force you to give them a review. It's not going to be 5 stars.
It's not going to be a review.
Irony. It's a delicious irony in that, Alan. Fantastic. Yes. Well, I was asked in one of my other lives in academia, I was asked to do a testimonial for 2 people, one of whose work I knew, and the other one didn't know enough about it. And I said, well, I can't really do that ethically. I can't do that because I don't know enough about your work. And they got all cranky, and get stuffed. I mean, there's a thing called ethics and integrity. And it was to do with some not so much getting a job, but some not a qualification, but some acknowledgement somewhere. And I thought, I can't do that. I just cannot do that because it's not ethical.
See, I've set my system up to where somebody might have done one of my courses, for instance, an email will go out to them and say, look, can you tell us? I don't ask for a 5-star review. I ask them, can you tell us what was the experience like? There's a thumbs up and there's a thumbs down. If they click the thumbs up, yes, it'll go through a page where they can select whether it's going to be Google business review or a Facebook review or a what do you call it, LinkedIn review. But if it's a thumbs down, it goes to a form where they can fill out and tell me what the problem was, so I can then go and fix it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that way, then I want honest reviews from people. I don't want false 5 stars and things like that, because people don't believe it. If you've got nothing but 5-star reviews and you've only got a few of them, people won't believe it at all. If you've got a lot of them, then it's not a case of all your friends have filled out the 5-star reviews. But people are more comfortable with 4.7, around about that figure, not 5. But and that's the sort of thing people go, oh, there's some a degree of honesty in this. So you want a few 4s, you want a few 5s, etc. You want it to sort of average out around that figure. But you never ask for, anybody who asks for a 5-star review just is looking to be recognized for the next client to come along. I'm asking for a review because I want to know how well I did.
Yeah.
How can I improve so that the next person, I can fix a problem, that there was a problem with you. How can I fix that? And then for the next person who comes along, the systems are going to be better again, so that they're going to also feel that they want to give me a 5-star, not be asked to give me one.
Yeah.
Well, whenever I run a workshop, I always have feedback forms, and at the end of it, say, "Look, I'll leave the room if you like, just and say what you think." And it's great because you're right, Alan. Yeah, a 4.7 seems to have a lot more credibility than a 5 for some reason. It's just that. But I can't imagine asking for a 5-star review. I can imagine asking for a recommendation on LinkedIn if you've had a good conversation and you say, look, you're happy to do a recommendation on LinkedIn. Yes, that's fine. But you don't specify. Yeah, it's got to be a really good recommendation. It's got to be 5-star. You just don't do that.
I know I got in trouble with the algorithms and everything else because somebody on LinkedIn, for instance, if there was an endorsement, they would click the buttons. Now, if it was somebody I hadn't done any work with, I would delete those endorsements because that's not work. I didn't do that work.
Right. Yeah.
But I was told that was upsetting my algorithms. It wouldn't mean that things didn't go out to so many people. And I went, no, well, integrity is more important.
Yeah.
Far more important.
Isn't that sad that the technology is no longer working for us? We're now working for the technology to train the algorithm. I think that's really, really awful. It's really sad and pathetic. And
this whole thing about the whole 5-star and not being genuine and all of that. It's just that superficiality that I find really hard to deal with. And it's not just online. It's also in real life. I mean, when I first moved to Australia, I have to say, and people would say, like, how are you? And, see you soon. Or, and I was on holidays and I would say, no, you're not going to see me next time because I'm only here for 2 weeks. And the chances that we're going to run into each other, like, are minuscule. Or when they asked me how I was, I would actually answer and I would say, and then I realized it really wasn't, that was not the question. It was just a formula for, it could be the same as good day or hello. But it's that because we've got that whole blandness of hi, have a nice day. And on the other hand, I really don't care, don't tell me. Because people got really confused when I answered. When I said, and there was like this moment of
well, I suppose the most transient interaction is like at a checkout. You say and you say to each other, well, how are you going? And the last thing you expect is for someone to say, for the checkout person to tell you, or for you to tell them what your day's been like. But we just it's that throwaway line, really, isn't it? We don't really expect a response, and when we get one, it scares the crap out of us. Like I imagine you would have freaked a few people out, Angela. But
I did.
How are you going?
Yeah.
Well, actually.
Sometimes I tell people in my courses, think about when somebody asks you how you feel, use that as an opportunity to check in with yourself. And then, like you don't have to know what I did for a while. If a checkout person asked me how I was, I went hopeful with a touch of melancholy or something like that, But it's again, it's about that superficiality. It's just bring it back to something real.
Yeah. And I like that response, Angela, because when people ask, how are you? The usual response is fine, freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. But that's what people are listening for. But for you to come out and say something like that, the person wasn't expecting an answer when they asked that question. That's the thing we've got to realize, first of all. But because you've answered in that way, that's got them, that's triggered them as well. And next thing you know, you're in a conversation because it's not the answer they've ever gotten before, because everybody goes, oh, fine.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
haven't done that. So it's actually sparked the opportunity to have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Except I wouldn't recommend it at the checkout, because they generally don't have the time to go into that.
There's 15 people behind you trying to get through as well.
Yeah. And you start talking about
conversation.
emotions, and it can trigger people really badly. Yeah.
It depends on how big your basket or your trolley's filled.
Yeah.
You got it really full? Yeah, go for it. Then you got 2 items? Don't.
Oh, dear, oh, dear. Oh.
Okay, on that note, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening, and thank you for continuing the conversation. Let's continue to build bridges, one conversation at a time, and yes, bridges of respect and fun.
And fun indeed.
And please join us next time.